Hello YouTube, Reddit Math here, and today we're going to be taking a look at a new indie game by the name of Duskers by developer Misfits Attic. Currently in Steam Early Access, version 1.0 is coming out Wednesday, May 18th, and this game flew completely under my radar until the developer sent me a key for the press build, and I must say I'm glad they did. Admittedly, Duskers is a bit of a niche title, but there's definitely an audience out there for it. And people who like this game are going to love this game. So what is Duskers exactly? Well, in the words of the developer, Duskers has you piloting drones into derelict spaceships to find the means to survive and piece together how the universe became a giant graveyard. In film terms, it's The Road meets the first Alien movie. In game terms, it's a roguelike with elements of dungeon crawling and real-time strategy, but in a survival horror setting that focuses on subterfuge and adapting to survive. Now, that might seem like an awful lot of genres to blend together, but the game does it well, and I've been having a lot of fun with it for the last few hours, and I wanted to share that with you guys. Now, we're sitting right now on the main menu of Duskers, and you're going to notice right away the aesthetic is a little unique. Don't adjust your television sets. That static is real. And you're also going to notice fairly quickly, my mouse cursor is going to be pretty useless here. This is going to be something played sans mouse with just keyboard, and we can instead use our arrow keys or any of the highlighted letters to navigate. Now, there is a tutorial right off the bat, the drone operator training, but I think we're going to be better off just getting into the game, and I can tutorialize as we go. I'm going to pop into the options menu, though, and clear user data. What that'll allow me to do is just reset the game, reset all the upgrades. It is a bit of a roguelike, so this will get us back to square one, and you can see kind of how the game starts off. So with the master reset out of the way, on the main menu, I also want to show off one of the things. I was really surprised and very impressed whenever I saw this. There is a daily and weekly challenge available in the game. There are leaderboards. It's awesome. You get like a little scenario to play out. It's a lot of fun. But for right now, as a better introduction for the gameplay, we're just going to go ahead and play game. Yep, they would definitely recommend that we do the tutorial. I do not want to do that, though. So as we initialize here, and the game basically builds us our procedurally generated game world, we're then going to drop in on a map of... Oh, we're not going to drop it on a map. We're going to drop it on a system check. And we're not quite going to pass here. So everything on our ship is fine, except we are running low on fuel. We have a crew size of 1. There's a lot of the narrative of the game that you're sort of left to infer. And this is going to be one of those first stages. We're all alone out there, and we're low on fuel. We do have the ability to send out a distress beacon. It doesn't particularly matter what we choose to do with that one, as far as I can tell. If we emergency beacon, we're going to find that we didn't get any responses for it. So recommended course of action by Jill, which I assume is our ship's AI, is that we initiate manual contact with the 4 vessels we've detected and acquire additional resources for travel. Hey, we found an externally modified log. It's our primary objectives of our ship: to gather intel and logs from derelict spacecraft, gather resources necessary for our survival, search for survivors, and if objectives cannot be completed, the recommended action is to reset. Saving logs, and here's our map. Now, this looks super old school, and maybe I'm getting a nostalgia dump, and if you don't have that same nostalgia for games like this, you might not connect to it immediately, but I assure you that the gameplay is there for this to be very enjoyable. Now, one thing our mouse is useful for is me just pointing out things on the screen. So going kind of clockwise here from the upper left, you're going to see the set view. Right now we're in a system view. We can pull that back to view the galaxy and pull that back to view the universe. Right now we don't have much of a universe map. But on the system map, we are this little blue guy, and the green ships are other ships that we are currently detecting. We have options to configure our drones, configure our ship, and build and repair various modifications. Our current ship, the Justice Rider, is very appropriate. And the ship that we're currently sort of docked next to is the Quinn, a Class C government vessel. We're not detecting any infestation types on board, which is good. It's a fairly young ship with a stable hull. Its distance is right next to us. We've never visited, and it has a total capacity on board, its size effectively of 48. We can now choose to board that. Before we do, this bottom part of the screen here is showing off our total scrap, propulsion, and jumps. Now, propulsion is going to be the fuel that we have in this kind of local map, our ability to move around here, and you're seeing a number next to these. That's the propulsion fuel consumed in order to get there. We also have some jump fuel, and it sort of acts as like gasoline sent through a car's alternator, in that anytime we jump, we refuel our propulsion fuel. So they are kind of kept separate, and once we arrive in a system, we're going to have that same 6 out of 6 again to explore around. But for right now, let's go ahead and hit B for boarding, and it's going to take us to our boarding configuration screen. Now, right now, we've got 3 drones that we're starting off with here: Rick, Cubert, and Cliff. These guys on looking at their, on the very first time you play, I believe that their loadout is kind of set in stone, that we always get a motion detector, we always get a tow and interface. After your first game, I believe those start getting randomized, and you can end up with all kinds of craziness. Some of it not very helpful for a starting loadout. This is pretty solid, and we should be just fine. There's an inventory down here. I don't have anything in it right now, but if we did, we could equip up to 3 modules onto each of our drones before going on the boarding action. We don't have really much to do here, though. With only 3 drones, you'll see there's an empty slot. There's also 3 additional slots for reserves, but we'll have to fill those out later. Instead, let's get our boarding action on. We do an initial scan of the ship, and might have lucked out a little bit there. So we've already seen some of this information, the infestation types, the age of the hull, etc. But there's also the number of communications that were found in the ship's archives and how many of those were corrupted. Most of them are going to be corrupted, and in fact, a lot of the time you won't get any game lore from visiting a ship, but sometimes you'll get these sort of scrambled logs like this. My name is Captain Transmission I received was over 20 days ago, excluding automated relays. I'm overwriting this log in the hopes that another survivor finds it here. It feels odd to type survivor, but I believe that's what we are. I'll be staying out there. I'll be broadcasting on E98CAAN5 TAC 0001, Emergency 0001, Captain Gene Vogel, in communications. Okay, message in a bottle, as it were. Now, let's actually start off with making this font a little bit bigger, and I believe F8, make that a little bit bigger. And my goal in doing so is just to make this a little bit easier for you to see. We're being told, first of all, the first thing we need to do is just open up the airlock. The airlock is designated here by A1. The way that we do that is purely through a command line, console, as it were. A1 toggles the airlock. Actually, maybe we make that smaller just so the tutorial messages don't cover it up. We can then toggle between drone and schematic view. So this is like the big kind of overview of our ship and the ship we've just docked with. By hitting the spacebar, we can shift into this view, which is very atmospheric, to say the least. If you can't hear the sound clearly, there's a lot of like crackling and static, and it can definitely build a mood in a quiet room where you're worried about aliens on board derelict space stations. Our drones themselves are controlled quite easily by the arrow keys. I can move them around like so. You'll notice there's a light in front of me, and stuff that I look at persists for just a moment. But like as I move back and forth, eventually the area that I was looking at sort of goes back to black. We are viewing the video feed of our drones, and we're able to move them around and navigate on the ship. So as soon as we get out here, we're going to uncover a few things. First of all, we've got scrap here. The recommended command with scrap is gather. Thankfully, Rick, our drone, has gather. So if I type gather right there, Rick's going to go and gather that stuff. How nice of him. Down here, we've got a power inlet. Recommended command is going to be generator. Unfortunately, Rick is not equipped with a generator, but if we cycle to Qbert here by pressing 2, and we get his cool sort of green shaded view, we're going to find that he does have the ability to power up a generator. We can type in that command, press enter, and Bob's your uncle. I'm going to pop back out to the schematics view, and you're now going to see that we've sort of powered up some of the ship. Now it notes rooms 1, 2, which is R1, room 1, room 2, and room 3 have been explored by us. I guess we saw this one kind of through this open doorway. But R4 and R5 have not yet been explored. Now, since this is the first ship of the tutorial, or of the inaugural mission, I suppose, not really the tutorial, and our scans told us that there were no like dangers on board the ship, I can feel pretty safe moving around here. And in addition to that sort of zoomed in drone view, I can also issue commands from here. So for example, I told navigate drone 1 to R3, and drone 1 will move himself over there. And in fact, that's actually quite cool. Let's get, oh, typos are never your friend, especially not in the heat of the moment. Let's get our Cliff in there, as he has the tow skill. You'll notice like all of the skills and all the drones are up here, so that you don't need to keep track of that stuff on your own. And once we're in here, let's see, I want drone 1 to give me some info. So we found the drone Jill in the room with us. We can use the swap command, really, in order to exchange upgrades with Jill. Let's get a little bit closer here. So recommended command info, that's what we've already done. If I swap, I'll get this, where I can pick up a couple of additional drone modules for us. So I think I'm going to take motion on Cliff, and then I'm going to head over to Rick here. And since they can each only hold 1, we'll grab stun. You'll notice stun is a bit damaged. It's yellow right now with a fancy exclamation point and a failure probability of 19% when used. We can repair that stuff whenever we get back to our own ship. But that should be everything in this room. So it becomes time to move on. Let's actually do this from here. Typing D3 will open, or D2 rather, will open door 2, and then we could tell drone 1 to navigate into R5, and we can say gather. And that quick tip is that we could type gather all, and the drone would grab everything it could see. Not very useful when there was only one thing left, though. And similarly, D5 will open the next door, and we can navigate 1 into R4. Let's go ahead and open up the next door while we're at it. We'll issue a gather all command, and then finally we'll use the all command one final time to navigate all back to room 1. All of our drones will pack it up, pack it in, and once they get back on board our own ship, yay, we can use exit to return to the mothership. The game is kind enough to close the airlock before processing the exit command, so it'll shut off and we'll move back out into the system view. We do get a little overlay of everything that happened there. We got 4 scrap for our trouble. We're now at 6 out of 50. We survived 1 day. Go us. I think the most important thing, of course, that we got stun and motion out of the down drone that we found there, and that'll likely come in very handy. Now, from there, you kind of repeat this pattern, although things are about to get a little bit more dangerous. So, infestation types on these other ships are not at 0, and we're very unlikely to encounter another one that is throughout our gameplay. So I'm thinking... I'm thinking we're going to head here next. We'll go ahead and travel over to the breathing space, a barge type B. And we'll pop back in here. I'm actually going to de-equip stun. You guys with motion, that's not bad. You know what, actually, let's get motion off there and on there. Cubert's probably going to be staying in place most of the time due to him possessing our generator skill. So that should be fine. We'll leave stun behind for now, as I am unlikely to need it. It's an offensive skill, which could come in handy for this next boarding mission, but I've got a strategy for handling undesirables that we might find on board. So we'll do our scan. Sometimes we can get scanning that's more than inconclusive, which will kind of reveal places on the map right away. I haven't seen that yet, though. One thing I really do enjoy is the class and directive that comes through. So this was a barge type B with a commercial shipments detective. You'll see like a lot of crazy stuff there, bounty hunting and what have you. No communication logs found. All of the communications on board were also corrupted. So when we come into this, the first thing that I think I'm going to do is let's have drone 1 throw off its motion detector. Now, this, as you can see, reveals the current and some nearby rooms, scanning them for motion. That's usually going to tell us if there's any danger in there, although there are some enemies that don't move until you stumble across them, so it's not 100% surefire bet, but I thought we would be okay. And then from there, we can navigate 2 into R1. Oh, I can't. Okay. Apparently, I don't yet know that this is going to be R1, which actually, now that I think about it, was not R1, it was R2. So maybe it was just my fault for issuing the wrong command. Let's get Cubert to a power inlet. You can pretty commonly find these in a room relatively close to the airlock, which is awfully nice of them. And once we get that powered up, we're going to see that most of the ship gets revealed, although doors 14 and 7 are not available yet, which tells me that there's probably another power inlet somewhere. As we start moving Rick, we're going to lose the motion scanner that was going on there. A little bit unfortunate, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick Rick right here for right now. We're going to throw him back on motion duty, and we're going to see that. Okay, so there's motion in room 5. Now, I'm going to go ahead and open up door number 9. I'm going to have Rick look around in here. We're going to have him gather all... really? I typoed. I typoed gather. Oh, I typoed all that time. Things are getting worse. You know, maybe I should just do that manually. Third time's a charm, right? Okay. So we got the scrap, and there's also a ship upgrade here. Ship defense. And we can use tow to get it back to our own ship. That is awesome. Now, I'm also going to do something a little bit different here. So, Cliff has tow. Now, the sequence of events that we would need to navigate 3 to room 4. We would need to tow. We need to navigate 3 to room 1. And we would need to tow again in order to drop it. Now, let's see if that works the way that I expect it to. So I'm parsing commands there with use of semicolon, as you do. You'll also notice there's actually a turret in the room with us there. We don't yet have the ability to turn that turret on or off, but there will be a console that we could interface with using the interface command that would allow us to do that. Now, let's go ahead and throw motion back on Rick. And then I'm going to close door 9. I'm going to open door 11. We've cleared out the room, right? Like, we got all the valuable stuff out of it. If whatever is moving around in room 5 decides it wants to move into room 4, we can just shut the door on it and trap it there. Awesome. Now, let's get D10 opened up, and I'll grab Rick here, as he is our designated gatherer. We'll move him in and see if there's anything to gather. No, but there's an interface. Lovely. Oh, no, I'm wrong. Okay. We'll have you gather. We'll also have navigate 3 room 5. If I don't designate and I'm in this screen, it'll just bring it to the drone that is here. Now, I can also then issue interface. I can... Oh, right. I'm not... I guess I've actually got to be on Cliff to interface. That's fine. Interface activated. We can do a ship scan from right there. We're scanning our current room. New items found in R2. Interesting. Okay. So, I didn't realize that. Ship scan actually revealed items that I should have already seen, but I clearly did not. Now, what I do know that it can do, I can turn on defenses. Yeah, that was that turret we saw earlier. We're going to go ahead and turn off defenses, because they're not too fond of us either. And then, let's get drone 1 back into room 2. Let's get drone 1 back into room 2. You can also use control and a combination of the arrow keys to scroll up and down through your recently issued commands. So if you want to correct a typo, for example, you can do that. Then I'm going to give a gather all and let them run around doing that. Now, door 15 has been open for quite some time, and nothing has come in to try to eat my face, so I'm assuming this room is probably relatively safe. Okay, there's also some power in here. Well, I'll tell you what then. Hubert? I'd say it's probably unlikely. You know what? Let's close D10. Let's open D8. And then we're going to get Hubert moving on. Yep, I moved too far away from the generator, so the ship depowered. Don't worry, though. I'm moving my way to a new generator. We're going to repower this puppy. Alright, with the rest of the ship powered... Let's have some motion detection going on here. Looks relatively safe. I believe the yellow denotes that I'm not getting a good ship scan off that room. Like my results could be imprecise. But we're in it, so I think I can feel fairly confident that things have gone okay. As long as we're here, we had D7 opened up and D12 opened up, and then drop the scanning, bump into a lot of walls. Yeah, we found Nathan here. Let's see what Nathan is going to need from us. Info. Okay, fantastic. So, unlike the last drone we found that was destroyed, Nathan is simply incapacitated, as it were, and we can tow him back with us. We could also still swap and grab his stun module, but he's far more valuable as a drone than he is as a simple module. Yep, and we find our next airlock, which is going to allow us to show off something else. You know what? Let's get Rick, like, in the middle of the room and have him motion scan again. Okay, we still can't quite see R7, huh? But we scanned that when we were in room 3, I think. Now, as the tutorial pop-up is trying to tell us, we can airlock to, or we can dock at other airlocks besides A1. I'm actually going to move to A3, and the ship will come around and come off right there. Now, what do you say we D4, and then I'm going to have Cliff come in here. I'm going to have Cliff tow my new best bud, Nathan. We'll open up D14. We'll open up A3. No, A3. Thank you. And I'm going to tow command to drop Nathan off right there. Nice. Now, got some stuff we can be gathering. We can open up D6, and no, we can't. All right then. Okay. So it looks like room 8 is a little bit scary. That's fine. We're not in a bad position to deal with that. There are, like, straight up offensive modules. I'm gonna call them modules, by the way. I think modifications is technically what they are, but I've played too much EVE Online, and it's just never gonna go away. So instead, they are forever modules for me, and there are just straight offensive modules. However, we don't have any of those. There's like Gatling guns and stuff like that that you can end up equipping to your drones, and you can just go in toe-to-toe fighting and shoot it out with these things that are on board. Since we don't have any of that, though, what I'm going to do instead is first get... Weird. I guess Cliff was in the way. I'm going to gather up everything I need on this ship so that when it's time to escape, I can get out of here. However, I'm then going to put motion detection on. Really, can't see that, huh? Alright, what happens if I come... I don't really care what's in the other room. I care what's going to be in here. And I can perfectly see in that. Now, let's open up D13. Now what we're waiting on is for motion to be detected in room 6, signifying that our threat has come in. Now, that other airlock that we didn't dock at, we can still open it. Yeah. Warning, opening airlocks will depressurize room. Unsecured contents will be evacuated into space. Reissue command to open airlock. This warning will not appear again. Alright, that took care of anything that was in room 6. We just blew it out the airlock. And that is going to be the way that I'm going to deal with most threats in this game. I find it pretty reliable. So, now that we've done that, we can come in here. We can actually see there was nothing in this room for me to even want. Okay. However, it does give me an opportunity to do something pretty slick. So, we cleared out everything on the ship. It's not the greatest ship in the world, mind you, but if we want it, it's ours. And we actually have the ability to commandeer. Now, Commandeering brings up this cool little thing, and we can see we're currently on the Justice Rider. We have 2 upgrade slots, but they don't have anything in them, whereas Breathing Space has a remote power upgrade. That could come in real handy. We're also seeing it's got the same scrap capacity that we do, so we'd really just be losing an unused upgrade slot. That's fine. Like I could deal with that. So yeah, why not? Commandeer it. And with that, we got ourselves a new ship. The summary screen, of course, we brought over fuel, collected some scrap. Nothing really spectacular there. Although we did retrieve the remote power upgrade. Awesome. As we come back out, we are now at the Justice Rider, but we are now the Breathing Space. We have also gotten a new drone. Say hello to Nathan, everybody. Nathan is unfortunately very damaged with a health of 0 out of 80. So before we would really do anything with him, we need to come into our modification screen. We want to go down to our drones, in this case Nathan, and repair his hull. Take 8 to get him to full. That's fully half of our current scrap, but I'd say worth it. I don't know what we'll use him for exactly right now, but I find it best to kind of keep drones in their lane with specific upgrades and what have you that kind of make them better at whatever their job is instead of being a jack of all trades, as it were. It wouldn't be a bad idea to have an offensive drone, but we probably don't have... Oh wow, mag clamps. We probably don't have the... Yeah, we don't really have the right modifications yet to like outfit somebody with either shields or stealth technology, or as you can imagine, there's a lot of different stuff in the game, and you can make an offensive drone. We don't quite have that stuff yet. You can also see from here, though, there are a number of other upgrades. In addition to just straight repairing your drones, you can increase their maximum HP, increase their maximum speed. You can level your drones up, and they get like a lot better than the base drones after a while. Once you get to that point where you've got kind of your party of drones and they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, any additional drones you pick up, you just convert to scrap and they're extra loot. So that goes pretty well. Now, with that, we still got 4 fuel left. It would be kind of a waste to just bounce out. We'd basically be able to visit this entire system before running out of fuel, especially if we find any additional propulsion fuel like on one of these ships. But once we're done, it's just then a matter of popping into the galaxy view and like finding the next system and jumping to it. As you can see, we can actually zoom in on these other systems ahead of time. There is some like really varied stuff in here. There's a Stargate. I have never seen a Stargate before. I actually have no idea what that does. I do know that I really like commandeering military vessels because a lot of times they will have like really cool guns and stuff that you can shoot from the ship. A private class A though, like that would seem to be a fairly like high value ship, although it is 216 years old, so maybe it's showing a little wear and tear by then. But you saw like, yeah, like things like this, like the military grade A. That would probably be really hard to take, but likely have some really cool stuff on board. Actually, a few military grade A's. That's pretty neat. And military grade B. Wow, this is like a real good map. The system over here specifically, there are space stations. They usually have different types of loot. I'm actually really interested to see what this Stargate might hold for us someday. But I'm probably going to go ahead and wrap this episode up here. I'll just leave off on the same system that we started in after showing you guys a couple of ships. So, final consensus, like I'm actually really surprised at how much I'm enjoying Duskers. It's really easy to get like super wrapped up in it and just zone out for a while. We didn't get, unfortunately, much in the way of logs, but you will start to get like the final objectives of the game as lore starts being exposed to you, and what wiped out the universe becomes a real question. And I haven't solved that on any of my play so far, but it would seem that the answer is everything destroyed the universe. Basically, whatever thing you investigate the most, I think you're going to find is the thing that destroyed the universe. There's breadcrumbs where you've got to keep, it'll be things like visit a medical class A ship in order to get research on a super virus that might have wiped out all living things, or visit a salvage vessel to find information on the nanobots that might have gained sentience and eventually wiped out the universe. You get the idea. There's some really cool lore and writing in there. There's a lot of neat ambience, and I think it's a really cool sort of universe that's being set up here, told through a very piecemeal storytelling technique, a la a Dark Souls type experience. So I'm able to fill in the blanks. I enjoy that kind of stuff. If you enjoy that kind of stuff, I think you'll enjoy this quite a bit as well. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this one up. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, feel free to subscribe. There's more on the channel every day. Leave a like or a comment if you have anything to say about this or any of my other videos, and I will catch you guys next time.